Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm your host, Jane, and today we're diving into the fascinating story behind the Jewish festival of Purim. With me is Dr. David Stern, a professor of Jewish history. Welcome, David.
Thanks for having me, Jane. I'm excited to delve into the Book of Esther and the history of Purim.
So for our listeners who might not be familiar, can you give us a brief overview of what the Book of Esther is all about?
Certainly. The Book of Esther is a novella, a short story, set in the Persian Empire. It tells the story of how a young Jewish woman named Esther becomes queen and, along with her cousin Mordecai, saves the Jewish people from a plot to annihilate them. This plot was hatched by Haman, a high-ranking official with a deep-seated hatred for the Jews.
It's quite a dramatic tale. What's interesting is that the book never explicitly mentions God. Why is that?
That's one of the most debated aspects of the book. Some scholars believe the absence of God's name is intentional, meant to show that God's hand is at work even when it's not obvious. Others think it was written for a more secular audience within the Jewish community. Regardless, the story is filled with events that seem too coincidental to be mere chance, suggesting a divine orchestration behind the scenes.
That's a really interesting point. It's like a historical whodunit, where the divine is the unseen hand guiding the narrative. Now let's talk about Purim itself. How did this festival originate from the events in the Book of Esther?
Purim literally means lots in Persian, referring to the lots that Haman cast to determine the most auspicious day to exterminate the Jews. The festival celebrates the Jewish people's deliverance from Haman's plot. It's a joyous occasion, marked by feasting, celebration, and the reading of the Book of Esther.
So it's a celebration of survival against all odds. What was the historical context of the Book of Esther? When and where did these events supposedly take place?
The story is set in the Persian Empire during the reign of Ahasuerus, who is generally identified as Xerxes I, who ruled from 486 to 464 BC. By this time, many Jews had been dispersed throughout the Near East by the Assyrians and Babylonians, and the Persian Empire had absorbed these lands. Haman's plot, if successful, would have annihilated virtually all of the Jewish people.
That really puts the stakes into perspective. It wasn't just about a local conflict. It was about the potential extinction of an entire people. How does the Book of Esther fit into the broader narrative of the Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh?
In the Tanakh, Esther is part of the writings, the Ketuvim. Traditionally, it's one of the 5 scrolls read during major festivals. Esther is read during Purim. More broadly, the story demonstrates how God preserves the lineage of Abraham to bring blessing to the world, ultimately through the Messiah. Even though God is not explicitly mentioned, the book underscores the theme of God's protection of his people.
So it's a testament to the resilience and continuity of the Jewish people, even in the face of existential threats. Now, the characters in the Book of Esther are quite compelling. Can you tell us a bit about the main players?
Absolutely. We have Queen Vashti, who sets the stage by refusing to obey the king's command. Then there's King Ahasuerus, a powerful but somewhat capricious ruler. Haman is the clear villain, driven by hatred and arrogance. Mordecai is the steadfast hero, loyal to his people. And of course, there's Esther, the courageous queen who risks her life to save her people.
Esther's transformation from an orphaned girl to a queen who saves her people is quite remarkable. It's a classic underdog story. What are some of the key themes that emerge from the Book of Esther?
One major theme is the hiddenness of God, as we discussed earlier. Another is the idea of identity and assimilations. Esther conceals her Jewish identity initially, but ultimately embraces it to fulfill her purpose. The book also explores themes of power, justice, and the triumph of good over evil.
Those are all powerful and timeless themes that resonate even today. It's no wonder the Book of Esther has remained so relevant throughout history. What makes Purim such a unique and joyful festival compared to other Jewish holidays?
Purim is unique because it's the most secular in flavor and one of the most joyful. It's a time for costumes, plays, and revelry. The reading of the Book of Esther is often accompanied by noisemakers to drown out Haman's name whenever it's mentioned. It's a celebration of overcoming adversity with a sense of humor and community.
It sounds like quite a lively and festive occasion. It's fascinating how a story from so long ago continues to be celebrated with such enthusiasm. What are some of the modern-day observances of Purim?
Today, Purim is typically celebrated on the 14th of Adar, which falls in February or March. The main observances include reading the Book of Esther, giving to charity, sending food gifts to friends, and enjoying a festive meal. Many people also dress up in costumes, often portraying characters from the story.
So it's a time for community, generosity, and remembering the past with joy. David, this has been incredibly insightful. Before we wrap up, what are the key takeaways you'd like our listeners to remember about the Book of Esther and the history of Purim?
Well, first, the Book of Esther is a testament to the resilience of the Jewish people and their ability to overcome adversity. Second, Purim is a celebration of that survival, marked by joy, community, and remembrance. And finally, the story reminds us that even when God's presence is not obvious, His hand may be at work behind the scenes.
Those are wonderful insights to keep in mind. Thank you so much, Dr. Stern, for sharing your expertise with us today.
My pleasure, Jane. It was great being here.
And thank you, listeners, for joining us on this journey into the history of Purim. Until next time, this is Jane, signing off.